All right. Here we are.
Back in action.
Actually live
Live
and
in action on episode
number 10.
Wow.
The Magnate Couple. I'm John Green.
And I'm Briana, and I'm really excited about today's right now's podcast, wherever you're listening from or looking from, because this is something completely different. And we are touching on a subject that I think from previous interviews or other avenues that we have been able to be a part of, the same question has come up, and it's how are you growing in business with someone that you have conjoined your life with? Mm-hmm. But the more important part of that question, and I'll utilize the word partner a lot in tonight's episode, because partner, it can be used in anything, whether it's business, whether it's life. We use the word friend a lot. That's also a partner, accountability partner. But specifically speaking about a business partnership and considering that we are life partners, we'll touch on that subject too. Now, for me, finding the perfect, and I don't even think it is a perfect business partner, but just someone that you work well together with, it takes hard work. It takes dedication. It takes patience. It takes a lot of different things to make it actually work and work in its best ability. And we're going to talk to you about that tonight.
Yeah. Just because you're friends don't mean you're business partners.
Oh, no. Yeah. And I think once you you join in with friends in business, you generally will be able to see that maybe that person really wasn't your friend, or maybe you should have kept that person as your friend and not transition them into your business partner. Or
even life partners, husbands and wives, boyfriend, girlfriends, significant others, whatever you want to call them. That's a difficult task to take on because, again, you're intermingling business affairs with personal. And sometimes you can't cross personal with business. Just because you're friends or you share, maybe the same bed or whatever the case may be. It's kind of difficult when you get down to how to run an organization, because you're not equally yoked. To use a biblical phrase, you got to be equally yoked in business, because you're making decisions over hundreds of thousands of dollars. So again, that's something to keep in mind. So let's jump into it.
Okay. Well, I think the key, like you were saying, equally yoked, is to find somebody that complements your skills. When I mean complements your skills, like it may be something where you're good at something, but I'm not good at something, or you excel in a certain way by working a certain specific way, and I may do it a different way, but coming together to make it a powerful way. And I think that's one of the most important key components in business partnerships, relationships, or anything of the sort. So a couple of things that you kind of need to ask yourself is, have you ever been in business before? And that's important, because if they haven't, it's an opportunity. If they have, it's an opportunity. Kind of like in the car business, I think when you were a manager, you would say you would prefer to have somebody that's not in the car business, just considering that they'll be more eager to learn, open to learn.
They don't come with bad habits.
Or that, yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me. You have somebody that has bad habits, you can't teach them anything. And it's kind of like when you go into business with somebody that's a partner. If someone's not receptive, because ultimately when you go in business, you're basically having someone buying into your dream and your vision of how your organization should go. So if you have two people with two different visions, two different philosophies, two different mindsets, that's a partnership. That's not a partnership. If you basically got two sole proprietors, that's what you have. So, it's when you go into business, there's a lot of things that you got to consider, and not just say, hey, man, you know what? I like you. You're cool dude. You my friend. I'm going to put my money up and put your money up, and let's go ahead and do some business. Whether it be collecting trash or trying to move properties or trying to sell cars. You have to have a singular vision or singular focus of what the end goal is that you want to accomplish. Because, again, if you have, let's say real estate like we are, if you have one that wants to do wholesale, another one do buy and hold, then there's two different philosophies.
Right. You haven't really chosen what your niche is or your target or what you want to accomplish together.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a huge conflict in the very beginning or in the future, because as you continue to grow and evolve in your business, just using the real estate example, if I feel like I only want to strictly do wholesaling properties, but your end vision is owning, buy and holds, at some point we're not going to connect. We might be able to connect. Real estate is great. Real estate is fun. But when you get to the point of, all right, we have this wholesale property, you want to wholesale it, or I want to wholesale it and you want to keep it, then there's a conflict because you're not able to agree on.
Well, it's having a game plan. It's having a short-term goal and long-term goal. It's a long-term goal about where you envision your business to grow into.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a reason why you wholesale from the beginning. And how do you get to an end goal of saying, hey, we want to acquire X amount of properties to do buy and holds? That again, that's a partnership. You want to lay out your business plan of how we should actually conduct business and what do we envision our vision and our actual business growing to.
Mm-hmm.
So right there from the outset kind of determines whether you can be in a partnership with somebody else. So moving on.
That's true. And being able to build on multiple levels. I know for a fact, when we first met, the level was on a respect of like my boss and then me, your employee. And so as time evolved, we built a great working relationship where I trusted you enough to know that you're going to help me steer on my goals in that aspect. And then when we transitioned to be business partners, it's like, well, you're not my boss anymore. So now we're working together.
Right. And
that's like a huge dynamic. But I think it was important for us to understand the dynamic of that aspect, and then, relationship aspect as life partners, and then also on the business aspect, because you'll be able to develop respect on different levels, and not always, me having to take your orders, not even orders, but me having to take your comments and feel like, well, he's the boss, I have to do them, versus we're working together now. This is your look on this and this is my look on this. How can we come together and work it? So
right.
I think
because you don't feel like a tug of war.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm thinking this way of how to do business, and you got somebody here freewheeling and trying to do this a certain way. It's not going to work.
It gives that structure and understanding, and being able to have that, to introduce that shared connection of understanding, hey, this person has my best interest because I know they've had my best interest in this aspect on this level, and be able to move forward even when things get tough, like handling a crisis. I think it's important to know how people handle stress, because everything is good when the money's flowing in, but if that money stops for whatever reason, or you may have a inflate on business expenses and can't pay your people or something like that, it's important.
Hopefully
yeah hopefully you'll understand how to handle crisis, because people crack under pressure, and if that person is your business partner, you'll have to take on that load and take on your load. And
there's different crises from that's a financial crisis, right?
Okay,
that's more of an employee. Well, right now, what about, let's say Huntsville real estate market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the crisis we have in Huntsville
right now? Is shortage of property and inventory.
So if there's a shortage of inventory, and there's always going to be a number of real estate investors out there.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get your share? And then when you are able to land a property, what if we can't get it landed in an efficient time? Is that not a crisis?
That's definitely a crisis.
What if you come to closing a couple of days out, and all of a sudden the seller has an unexpected, you find out the seller has an unexpected, let's say a lien against the property,
mm-hmm.
that's going to cost you additional money. Is that not a crisis?
That's definitely a crisis.
All right. So these are type of things that you have to learn. How do you handle them at the 9th hour or 11th hour, so to speak? If you got a deal that's ready, 72 hours to close, and all of a sudden funding falls out, and then the deal, goes with. What do you do? How do you adapt? So this is how as I was saying, pressure bust pipes. Well, how do you guys come together if there's a crisis? How do you avert the crisis? Do you just give up and say, "Hey, man, give the property back"? I don't know what to do with it, or do you try to persevere and try to find a way? Because ultimately, when you're an entrepreneur, you learn how to adjust and adapt, because you understand it's your reputation and your name on the line. Ultimately, your name's on the building, so to speak, right? That's your name on the building. How do you handle that? How can you handle that? And can you trust your partner to have your back in these situations versus, man, hey, you handle it, you deal with it.
Yeah.
Or you have a disgruntled seller on the line. Something may not have been the way it went, the way you wanted to. Do you avoid calls and texts, or you just sit there and, hey, let me jump on the phone and handle this? That's a crisis. Can you trust your partner in these instances to do what's not just right by you, but what's right for the ultimate goal is growing your brand and growing your business? That's a crisis. Can I trust you?
Yeah.
Can I trust you in when to be the same person that you are when we're making money? Can I trust you when times are lean? Can I trust you when there's some type of situations that may not go as planned? So these are type of questions that that need to be addressed.
I think even before they're addressed, they need to be introduced before you even go into the partnership. Knowing things about how do you deal with crisis, or how are we even going to split funds?
Well, that's later on.
Well, I feel like that needs to be up front, because if at the end of the day, if you can't come to terms on that, that should tell you a lot about,
a little bit.
No, because, generally people, they say, oh, let's just do 50-50. But I was reading.
Or less. It should be less than that. Trying to start a business.
Well, definitely when trying to start a business. But I was reading a book. I believe it was a book from Bigger Pockets. And in the book, it was talking about how he went into partnership with someone. Actually, he was buying the house, the property. And the point, and I don't want to tell you the story and go into depth, but the point was he asked the wrong question up front. And when it was time, when that question that he should have asked up front came to be a crisis or an issue, everything else fell apart. And so it's extremely important to have these vital conversations at the beginning before you decide to do the LLC, before you decide to shake hands and let's be business partners. It's important to kind of know where that person is way before the hand. And I know you said we're going to talk about it later, but I think a lot of these things are questions that you need to talk about beforehand.
I agree with that. Again, it's why we discussing about partnership, because hopefully reach somebody out there that if you look at the most successful people, not all the time, a lot of them are sole proprietors, because they're selfish. A lot of people are selfish. Yeah. But then again, some people are just the face of the organization, but there are multiple partners behind it.
Yeah, I was going to say, because most times, actually, I don't even think it's most times. I think you can't grow by yourself. I mean, like you said, you can be the face on the building, right? But actually,
there's multiple people involved.
And what was that you were telling me the other day? It was like, people pay the people to do the things that they can't do, or that they're, not professional at, and that's how they build their team up. Just think of it like, I don't know. You can think of anything. Think of Walt Disney World. The smallest key components, like the characters that greet you at the door, makes the initial experience for you versus just coming to see, Mickey Mouse. So I don't think that was a really great illustration, but I got my point. I don't know. Help me out, John.
So let's move on to our communication style here, because again, that kind of ties into crisis, because when things come, how is a partner going to communicate with you? Because I tell you what, one thing that bothers me is if there's an immediate situation comes up, are you going to be the person that disappears, or are you going to be the person that picks up the phone and calls, hey, we got something to handle? Some things doesn't require a text message or email. It actually requires personal interaction. And that's part of the communication style. What type of communication style do you have? Are you going to be abrasive? Or can you be the customer facing? Because we are in a customer service business. We deal with sellers. We also deal with end buyers. You got to develop that relationship. So what type of communication style would mirror something that you would like to do business with as a partner?
You put me on the spot there, John, because I was actually going to ask you that question. Talking about communication, I think for me, I'm a very direct person. I kind of just tell you what I'm thinking and then expect you to understand. Kind of like that whole Walt Disney illustration. Like, it made complete sense in my head, but saying it out loud is different. So for me, it's more so like understanding where I'm coming from. And if you don't understand, ask questions, inquire about it, instead of just saying, I don't think that's really a good idea, because in that return, it's going to shut me down. Because I'm like, they didn't even try to understand. It's just like, I don't get it. Instead of saying, hey, tell me how you come to this, or how does this make sense to you? Is that what you mean about communication? Well,
I think everybody has different personalities. Okay. So what my weakness is in a communication style should be your strength.
Okay.
So let's say if you're very direct and if the call or the communication with the customer or the seller isn't going the way it should, that's when the perfect time to tell your partner, hey, I think you'd be better with this person, or you should be well in tune with each other enough to say, let me take this over from here because I got it from here. And sometimes, because again, your professional strengths, what your partner has.
I think we do that a lot too, especially when we're communicating with sellers a lot of times. Because I think I'm very to the point, and you're like, you like to explain, you like to, talk and have a conversation about it. And I'm just like, okay, let's go ahead and sign.
It's all about the connection.
And I think that we do a great job at communicating that without even having to say anything. If I'm on the phone with a seller and I'm like, this is not going the way I want it to go, I'll look, hey, you know what? Let me, I want you to talk to my business partner.
Yeah.
He's looked more
business like a TO.
Yeah.
A turnover.
Yeah.
It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength.
Yeah.
Understanding that where your limits are at. And instead of letting your pride get in the way and say, hey, my partner's better at this avenue. So that's how communication style kind of plays off each other. But just because you're direct or you have one who's more of extroverted personality doesn't mean you can't mirror off each other. Same thing with a structured personality. Well, a structured person or a paced person may have more difficulty communicating because they don't like the interaction. Understanding their strength and weakness of how they can benefit kind of makes the company that much better. Your business that much better, much more fluent. So it's like building a 5-year plan, right? When you have the right communication style with each other, you understand, hey, this is our vision for 5 years. This is our short-term goal for right now. For the next 3 months, we want to do X, 6 months this, next year, and by the next 3 years here, and by 5 years, which is more of a long-range goal, this is where I think we should be at. You should be able to understand from start to where you are now. Because the first year, it's very hard because you're growing. You're going to have to make some serious sacrifices to really, really get where you want to go. Because, most small businesses in the first 3 to 5 years, 50 to 75% don't make it, because they fail to have any type of vision of where they want to go. So in 5 years, you're hitting that line where 75% of small businesses just didn't make it to where you are. So how can you get to that 5 year? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would. I mean, it's when you think of being in a business relationship with someone, I think it's very, very similar to being in a relationship with someone, because at the end of the day, what are the key things that you need in your relationship? Communication, trust, on the same page, or understanding, I would say, grace, respect. It's one and the same, no matter the level.
Because in business, okay, when you open a business, you're operating in the red. Regardless if you start making $50,000 that first month, you're still operating to own your business because you don't know what's coming ahead. You don't have that stability, and you don't have the reputation that someone's been in business for a long time might have. So you're, and especially if you start off in wholesale, you're in a transactional business. There is no accumulation of wealth. That's which being real estate, which being rental properties. There's nothing that's bringing in additional income every month. It's only by transaction. So when you start a business, you have to have a vision of where you want to build it to in order to sell, right?
That goal, that why.
Yeah, you have to. You don't operate a business to keep it, right? Majority of most successful brands, they build the business and they sell it.
Mm-hmm. Think of Jay-Z with Tidal.
Yeah, they build it and they sell it. So I was listening to E-Myth, which is a book I strongly recommend. And that was one of the things they said, hey, if you're building a business, you want to build it with the end goal to sell it, because that's how you actually generate more wealth for yourself. You build the brand, you sell that brand off, which gives you the more capital to start your next business venture. Entrepreneur, right?
Right.
So, which kind of leads to preferred exit strategy. What is your preferred exit strategy? In 5 years, when I have the business operating XYZ, doing this, operate on, buying wholesale, so many houses a month, 5-10 houses a month with 100 transactions wholesale, 25 to 30 properties generate rental income, and working on a minimum of 50 flips a year. That's a vision. That's a goal. Okay. So at that time, if you're generating this, would you not say you would generate interest if somebody want to buy your deal because you built it up, right?
I think that's an important conversation to have with your business partner prior to, because what if that's not their end goal, and then you got a situation
that's communication, right? But
they have to buy you out in order to not sell it, and your exit strategy could be anything. It could be to give it to your children and build a legacy. So I think that's important.
Right.
I think all of these things and questions and opportunities to speak about when you're choosing a business partner should happen most certainly beforehand.
So, and then also the biggest thing too.
I'm going to end my comment with this. Yeah. And it's also important to reassess these things while you're in business, because, I enjoy doing SWOT analysis when it comes to our business, whether that's on a monthly or quarterly basis, because it gives us an opportunity to assess where we are, where we want to go, and how we see our business going. And if at any point in time those things are in question, that's when you figure it out. You don't push it down the road and wait and say, they'll change their mind one day. Kind of like that situation where when people are in a relationship, or marriage or whatever, they think, I'm going to marry this person, although I know that they don't want to have children, right? And then you marry the person, you're in the marriage, and then you figure out 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, they don't want to have children. Now you've wasted that huge amount of time, thinking that at the end you were going to get a child and the other person wasn't. Then you just waste a lot of time. It's the same thing with business. You think that you're going to keep the business forever, pass it down to the legacy of your family, and the other partner wants to jump out and sell it, wants to make a certain amount of money. And I'm trying to tell you, the best thing you could possibly do, and this is my best advice for this topic, is treat this like dating. Before you get into it, understand every part, every question possible beforehand, before you jump into something, because the last thing you want to do is get into something and not wanting to be in it, and then have to go through all the things of getting out of it. I just think that's just terrible to do.
Yeah. Well, another thing is moving on to the next after exit strategy. I think it's very important prior to partner with somebody is, what is their current financial situation?
Oh yeah. What do they have ties to?
So the reason I said it kind of leads is like when you first start generating profit, income, that's not your money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how's the business set up to sustain? If you're eating your profits, oh, I made money and I'm going to go ahead and buy this, I'm going to go ahead and invest in it. If you're not reinvesting in your company,
you won't have one.
If you're not trying to, that's part of doing that SWOT analysis, understanding the shortcomings, which means your opportunities that you have, what threats you may have, what weaknesses you have. So if you understand what your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, then you can able to address them. So if you're jumping into a business with somebody who's on either shoestring budget or flat broke,
shoestring budget, you
know, or just flat out broke, then you know you are set up for absolute failure, because when the business start generating money, they're gonna think, hey, half their profit's mine. Mm-hmm. And there's really not,
or more than half.
You know,
and then you're hurting ultimately your business.
You got taxes to pay, you got employees, you got sustainable, you got expenses that happens every
overhead
month. So those things have to be taken into consideration. If you're not set up where you can invest in the business with your own personal income, then, and if you're just eating your profits, then you're going to be bankrupt. You're bankrupting your own business because your favorite uncle comes sees you often. And if you're actually paying, especially if you're doing strictly wholesale, that's a massive amount of taxes that you have to pay. There's only so many write-ups you can have. You still got to pay that, unless you got some rental property somewhere to offset that. You'll find out real fast that, you got a big bill to pay. So again, if you have somebody who's not very good with money, that is a runaway sign immediately.
What's your biggest wrap this up? Because like I said, mine is just, before you jump into business with anybody, know who, what, when, where, and how you're about to jump into business with them in. What's your big haha or takeaway moment with this topic?
We just talk about, if your money funny, we can't do business. I'm just telling you, man. If your money funny, man, then that's a big sign, because you can be good friends with somebody and not really know their financial situation. Mm-hmm. And you looking to make moves, and they're thinking about the money. They've already spent the money that you've made. Oh man, they're making moves in their head. Oh, that money's already spent. So, and also communication style. Understanding the strength and weakness of your partner, mm-hmm. and how they communicate. Because it plays off each other.
Do you feel like you picked the right business partner?
No pressure. Hey, we got a proven track record that says yes. Okay. And, we're just beginning. By no means, we have not arrived.
No.
But the thing is that
I don't think we've even started the car yet.
All you gotta do is look, right now it's outside, it's raining here. And it's kind of like that zero we have right now, people watching us. But, all it takes is one person to believe in us and see us, and then you build from that. So it's like that very first deal we found, right? All it took was one seller to believe in us and say, hey, we're going to give you opportunity. So our thing is to connect with other investors, whether it be new or seasoned vets. We just want to talk. We just want to connect and learn from each other. So hopefully we see some of you guys and join us on here and see these two cool cats called the Magnate Couple and get down with us. So let's talk about it before we get out of here. We're going to share what we're reading. We're on Simon Sinek right now. Understanding Your Why. Outstanding book. So if you don't look us up on Instagram at
Magnate _acquisitions or the Magnate _couple,
or Facebook,
the same things, no underscores.
And for you guys looking at Deal Machine has been tremendous for us in our business. We highly recommend that you look it up. We give you a promo code, which is Magnate Magic, gets you 30 days free, and also save you some money on your subscription. But whether you get on the basic level or the enterprise plan, which we have, or the professional plan, it's worth it. So send us out of here.
Thanks for tuning in. And as JP Rockefeller says, don't give up the good. Wait.
Don't be afraid to give up the good.
Yeah, I'm like, wait, help me out here. Don't be afraid to give up the good to go for the great.
We in the tourney, baby. Gold Flames, women and men's basketball. Alumni in the house, baby. Let's go.